One would think that the New York Department of Environmental Conservation would be diligent in monitoring and regulating a site where an MGP sat atop a filled-in creek. But New York is a hub for so much legacy pollution that their job is nearly impossible, and the agency is overworked and underfunded.
The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation keeps a list of all the sites in Brooklyn that are either in remediation, slated for remediation, or have been remediated. This list fluctuates. Once a site has been remediated, it remains on the list. So if a site is removed from the list, it's not because the remediation is complete. On the list are 10 of Brooklyn's former manufactured gas plant sites.
In addition to the huge Astral oil refinery, the inlet was home to one of the largest MGPs in the area, the Williamsburg Works.
The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has documented coal tar leaching into the East River from the Williamsburg Works site. Remediation does not mean returning a site to its pristine state. Any project will have a limited budget. So a site will be clean to the point that is appropriate for its intended use. So if a site is going to be a park, like the site here, it's likely that a certain amount of soil will be removed, maybe 5 or 6 feet. But it's also likely that there's a considerable amount of coal tar below that. Now that coal tar won't pose a danger for anybody in the park, but that coal tar could still continue to leach out into the East River.
Coal tar is not the only way that former MGP sites can be hazardous to people's health.
The compounds are volatile when they mix with the air and give up vapors when they reach the air. And so in a building that's contained, right, they might be giving off vapors into that building and be very dangerous for somebody who's confined or working in that building or living in that building. I would be less worried about the vapors in an open site. But in a contained site like that building or that building where there was a holding station, that would where you'd be more concerned about the vapors. It was a manufactured gas holding station from about 1887 to 1951. There were 2 big tanks, one on this side of the block and one on that side of the block. And now you can see that it's used for storage, warehouses, and manufacturing. I'm not really sure it's my responsibility to tell them, and I'm not sure what the result of their knowing that they're working on this, state Superfund site would be, because I assume that most of the people working on that site don't really have a choice. And I have all this information about the site, and I just wonder about the people working there. I feel people should at least know.
In years past, New York's parks were built inland, and the waterfront was reserved for industry. But now that trend's been reversed, at the expense of the waterfront's history. Mayor Bloomberg's waterfront plan rezoned about 180 blocks along the Greenpoint Williamsburg waterfront to allow for much larger residential buildings. As a result, Brooklyn's industrial waterfront was declared one of the 11 most endangered historic places in America in 2007. The Newtown Creek and Gowanus Canal have recently been declared federal Superfund sites. But like so many other chapters of New York's history, rather than being cleaned up, the Bushwick Creek was simply eliminated.